interrupted yesterday by the fire drill. We were on constellations, and we were talking about the zodiac. So what the zodiac is the series of constellations that are in the ecliptic. You need to know what that word means, the ecliptic. Have you ever heard of that? So, let's pretend this is the sun. And as you know, the earth goes around the sun, right? Y'all pay attention here. So the earth goes around the sun. So imagine the walls of the room. There are star constellations, right? There are groups of stars that make certain patterns if you look at them. Well, if the earth is right here and the sun is right there, the sun is in some constellation. Meaning you can't see that constellation because the sun's in front of it. And the ancients thought that those were really important constellations for some reason. So they called those the zodiac. Those are the constellations of the zodiac. And there they are there. And if a constellation that's way up there or way down there is not in the zodiac. Only the ones that the sun is in. This plane that the earth and the sun and all the other planets are on is called the ecliptic. This flat, round plane. That's what's called the ecliptic.
So they would like see it before it gets behind the sun, and they'd be like, they notice that one's the one they can't see.
Exactly. Exactly. It took them a while to figure that out.
Yeah,
the Babylonians were the first to figure that out. Yeah. So they had to understand that the sun's here, and you can see this constellation, and then the sun is moving, and then now the sun is in front of this. But in actuality, it wasn't the sun that's moving; it's the earth that's moving. But they didn't know that. Yeah.
Aren't all the planets not like exactly aligned? Like, aren't some of them a little?
They're off by a little bit, but not much. They're all in about the same 3-degree area, except for you remember Pluto has a 17-degree orbital tilt, but all the other ones are in about 3 degrees of difference, pretty close together. So, back to your point, so the ancients thought that the sun was moving, not the earth. It's actually the earth moving around the sun, but the ancients thought the sun kind of went across the sky. And the ancients came up with this thing called the celestial sphere. This is a celestial sphere. I've held this up all year. And what it is, it's an imaginary kind of globe in which you would place the earth at the center of this. And the ancients thought that the stars were something that the gods had painted onto this celestial sphere and put the earth at the center. And that the celestial sphere moved around like this once a day. You see what I'm saying? And this big yellow thing, that's the Milky Way. That's the plane of our galaxy. And if you go out at night when the moon's not out, you can see this line of brightness going all the way across the sky. That's this. And that's the plane of our galaxy. That means you're looking through our galaxy, which kind of sits in this flat plane, and there's a lot of stars and light and stuff that gives it kind of this light look. Yeah.
Was that when they thought we were geocentric?
That's right. That's the geocentrism, yeah. And so every on this canvas has been painted all the stars that you can see in the sky. Does anyone here know how many stars you can see in the sky if you just look up?
6
With the naked eye? 6,000. 3,000 at any one point. But you can only see half the sky because the other half is behind the planet. So there's 6,000 total visible to the naked eye and 3,000 at any one time. And that's how many dots are on this thing. Somebody painted all 6,000 dots that you can see under this.
In the right location.
In the right location. Isn't that cool?
How much did that cost?
$8. Just like a balloon. Pass that thing around. You can look at it.
It's like a beach ball.
I mean, you can look at it before you pass it around. I didn't just want you to pass it around for fun.
Pass the ball.
Hey, throw this around. So that's called a celestial sphere. And we now know that the Earth is turning, not the sphere.
Oh.
The Earth is what turns. And the sphere isn't a bunch of dots that the gods painted onto the sphere. They're stars in space at different distances. But the ancients had no way of knowing that. And they thought that when you died, if you were important, you became one of those stars, one of those dots. And that the gods would place you in the heavens. And that's where heaven, the idea of heaven came from. That's where you go when you die. Yeah.
Are all of the planets within the celestial?
Yeah, they thought that the planets were dots on the celestial sphere, but the planets were especially important because they moved. And you know, the planets orbit the sun. So one day the planet might be there on the celestial sphere, the next day it might be there on the celestial sphere, and the next day it might be there. So they gave extra importance to the planets, because those were stars that moved along the celestial sphere. We now know that they're planets, but they thought they were stars. They didn't know what stars were. And so there are these things like Mars, and remember we were looking at Mars yesterday where it was? If you went out there tonight, it would be a little bit over, because Mars is moving. And the ancients noticed that because they look at the skies every night, and they said, that one moves, that must be a god. That's Mars, you know, the god of war, because it's orange and fiery, I guess. You know, they're making stuff up. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Why is it form like this? Like, is it something in the middle?
Imagine that the Earth is at the very center of that thing. Like not on the edges, but in the very center of it. You can't get in there because it's the barrier, but that's what they thought. The Earth at the center, and that thing spins around it.
So what is it in the middle?
Well, this is an imaginary thing that the ancients thought the Earth is at the center, and there's this big canopy of stars that's going around the Earth. They were wrong. That's not what it is. But that's the model that they use in their heads to think about what space was. They thought it was a big canopy that the gods had painted stars on. They didn't know what the stars were, so they thought they might be people's spirits that had gone to heaven, gone to the skies. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question, Sam? Now, how do you locate a star? You use two readings. Just the same way you locate. How do you locate a point on Earth?
Like that.
Longitude and latitude.
Longitude and latitude. So latitude is this way, and longitude is this way. You do the same thing for locating a star. Can I borrow this? If you want to locate a star on the celestial sphere from Earth, you draw an angle up from the equator. So all the way up from the equator, straight up, the North Star would be at a 90-degree angle up from the equator. And we call that angle the declination. Can you say declination?
Declination.
Declination. So you can see you start at the equator and you go up, and that angle is the declination. So that star right there in the sky would have a declination of about, 55 degrees, maybe 60 degrees, that angle is. I'm just guessing. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's the first, to find a star on the Earth, you do declination, that's the height that it is, the angle that it is. And again, the North Star would be 90 degrees declination because it's right over the North Pole. And then you do what's called a right ascension. Right ascension is the degrees left and right of the globe, starting at a certain point, which is a point called the vernal equinox point, which is the point that the area, the point on the Earth that's pointing to the sun at the time of vernal equinox. Did we study the equinox yet? Remember when the Earth goes around the sun Here's what the equinox is, if you don't remember. It won't stay. Here's the Earth going around the sun. So, remember, you have the Earth is tilted, right? And so, this is our winter, because we're tilted away from the sun. Y'all remember this?
Oh, no.
I knew it was going to fall. It's like a puck, it's just waiting to go in, but you only get 10 seconds. Okay, so here is winter. Here's our winter. And then when we go around to this side, that's our summer, right? Because we're pointed towards it. So there's a point in between called the equinox, right? And that's when the start of spring or the start of fall. The vernal equinox is the start of spring. So we would be, here's winter, we're coming, it's getting warmer and warmer, and there's the vernal equinox. When it's exactly 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of night, and our hemisphere isn't close to the sun, it's not away from the sun, it's dead even. And there's a point on the globe as the Earth turns when we hit vernal equinox exactly. And that's the point that is 0 right ascension. And as you go from that, in hours, minutes, and seconds, you go up in right ascension. So this might be 1 hour right ascension, 2 hours right ascension, 3 hours right ascension, 4 hours right ascension. And there's guess how many hours there is going all the way around in right ascension? 24 hours total. Does that make sense? That'll get you all the way around the globe. So this star right here, come on, there we go. Well, this star right here is at, let's say, 55 degrees declination, and 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 hours right ascension. So if I told somebody, some scientist somewhere, hey, I just saw a weird object through my telescope at 55 degree declination, 5 hours, 3 minutes, 10 seconds right ascension, he would know exactly where to train his telescope. You see what I'm saying? He could find that point. Actually, most telescopes, big telescopes, are controlled by computers. And he could plug that into the computer, and the computer would turn right towards it. Does that make sense? So we can find any object in space. Every dot on this celestial sphere is at some declination and right ascension. And you can actually see the lines. They've drawn them for you on the celestial sphere here, so you don't have to. See, that says 13 hours, that says 12 hours, that says 11 hours. You can read it on this thing, so you can find the star. Yeah?
So in Australia, they're about to go on their summer break.
Yeah?
Why do they have their seasons, like, why do they call it the opposite of what
I don't know. I really don't know. We'd have to ask an Australian. So they're calling it summer?
Yeah, like last
I guess
year.
summer just means hot. So it's getting hot down there.
Yeah, that's what.
Summer means hot, so it's
When they came and seen us during December, they said they were on summer break.
on summer break. Yeah.
But isn't the whole Earth, like all of it, pointed away from the sun?
No. Right now, if this is the sun, if the podium is the sun, we're pointed away. They're pointed toward.
But isn't the Earth turning?
Yeah, but watch Australia. It's always pointed toward, even though it turns. Well, now it's away. It's dark, but it's light again, and this area is getting direct sunlight, so it's hot down here. This area is not getting direct sunlight, so it's cold up here. Okay?
Right.
So the Earth turns every day, and that's hot down there. But imagine when we get on this side, imagine how cold it is down here because it's pointed away from the sun. That's Australia's winter.
Okay.
That make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Poor Australia. I don't know. I wish I was there right now. It's about to be summer. That's what you need to do if you ever get rich enough. You buy a house in the northern hemisphere and a house in the southern hemisphere. And then you can always have good weather. You just fly in between. Okay? And then I want you to invite me to your house and fly me there, please. Oh, here's another look at it. Declination is up and down. Right ascension is left and right. Can you remember those terms? Oh, and the last part of that chapter talks about astrology. Have you heard of astrology? Astrology and astronomy are often confused with one another. Astrology is when a guy tells you your horoscope, or what's going to happen to you, or maybe something about your personality based on when you were born and how the stars or the planets were aligned when you were born. And long story short, it's a total scam job. It's not real. Okay? People take other people's money this way. By saying, if I say I'm a Gemini, so I only get along good with a Taurus or something like that, I don't know what it is, that's just not real. It doesn't hold up. There's no evidence pointing towards it. Whenever you try and set up a scientific test of an astrologer, they always fail. It's a con job. It's not real. But we kind of laugh at it a little bit. Making fun of it a little bit. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. People pay huge money to go to astrologers and have them tell them about their lives and their future and all based on how the planets are aligned. And the planets being aligned way out there in space has nothing to do with your life or how it turns out. It's just just not real.
Like phrenology, like as fake as phrenology is?
What's that?
Phrenology?
Phrenology, it's like phrenology. Yeah, that's something we studied in psychology. How bumps on your skull will determine your personality, but it's just not true.
And people really believe that?
Oh yeah, lots of people believe it. I have a friend of mine who pays $10 a week for her horoscope online.
I just go on Twitter and look at the ones on Twitter.
Yeah, you can do them on Twitter too. And I mean, it's fun, and she has fun with it. And I think part of it is just something to do. Is paying for entertainment, and that's fine. But she takes it too seriously. Also, she's like, "No, my horoscope said I shouldn't go out, this evening because bad times are ahead." And I'm like,
"Wait, is astrology?
Your horoscope said that?"
Is astrologers the same thing? Like the same people that say they come up with it says that Scorpio is this and Virgo is this, and it says it goes down and it says.
That's it.
Didn't something just change?
I'm
or
sorry,
prayer just change or something?
Yeah, they added a new. They found out that there's another one of these 12 in there. I can't remember. Something changed about the zodiac recently.
I think they just found out that they messed up the dates.
They had messed up the dates and they changed everything, which changes everything.
Yeah,
the whole thing.
It
means it's even more ridiculous. What's that?
I'm staying with mine. I said I'm not changing. I'm gonna stay with mine.
Yeah, they changed the times a little bit.
They try to say that I'm
They added in another one. I don't even know what happened. But anyway, it's not real, so don't fall for that. And don't let anyone you know fall for it if you can't avoid that. So anyway, that's Constellations. So what we're going to do in the next, it's going to be another week that the moon's going to be bright in the sky, and then the moon's going to be behind the earth at night, and we'll have about 2.5 weeks where we can go out and look at the constellations. Hopefully we'll get a clear night and we can go out there and I can point out some constellations for you. That's always cool. So we'll try and do that. So let's remind me every day starting next week to look at the forecast at night and see if we can go out to the beach at night.
Isn't that Supermoon the week after next?
It's this week, isn't it?
I think it's the 14th.
1 week, a week from today.
Oh,
a week
is it?
from tomorrow.
A week from
yeah,
tomorrow?
I think so. We need to check on that.
Mr. Willis,
Yeah.
should I just continue filming or should I do another video?
Tomorrow we're gonna get a game.
Yeah, let's, what should we do?
Are you serious? Is the first game on the 14th?
Yeah, let's stop and do a new one.
Okay.
Oh, then we're good.